Ready. Mr. Pierson, you ready? Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Kevin? Jamie, you guys ready? Michelle?
I'm ready, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to February's meeting of the Geneva Area City School District School Board. Call to order, please. Excuse me, roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg,
Here.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Here.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Present.
Mr. Pierson,
Here.
and Mr. Wilt.
Here.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
and Mr. Wilt.
Yes.
Mr. Lillie, are we in compliance?
Yes, we are.
This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Treharn, do you have any correspondence?
The communications that were received were either responded to or sent to the appropriate people to respond.
Thank you. Mr. Lillie?
None.
Thank you. Dr. Treharn, the calendar drafts, please.
Yeah, so the board, in your packets, you have two drafts. I obtained input from administrators, had the opportunity to provide input, the union, and in meeting with the other superintendents in the county. Seems to be pretty similar from years past, some districts starting earlier, some starting later. Spring break is the only consistent piece of the calendar across the county. The difference is really, the biggest differences between draft A and B is the start of the school year. So draft A has the first day for students August 26th, whereas draft B has it on August 28th. Trying to respect that Geneva on the Lake has always wanted us to start later. The other difference is in draft B, not spring break. Winter break is two full weeks in draft B, whereas in draft A it's not quite 2 full weeks.
Sorry.
So the next steps would be that this would get sent out in a Google form. Staff would have the opportunity to vote on which draft that they like better, and then if that recommendation I would make at the March board meeting to the board, for the board to adopt the calendar.
Questions, comments, concerns? Approval of minutes, please. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Is this for all three meetings, or are we doing each?
All three.
All three? Moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilt,
Yes.
and Mrs. Krieg.
Yes.
Mr. Lillie, Treasurer's Financial Report. I need a motion, please, to accept, excuse me, I thought you were presenting something. I need a motion to approve the Treasurer's Financial Report, please.
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz,
Yes.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilt,
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
and Mrs. Milliken Dixon.
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the invoices?
Moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Pierson,
Yes.
Mr. Wilt,
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg,
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon,
Yes.
and Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Informational items.
You see a donation of $1,000 from a former student, Noel Armstrong, who currently lives in Lakewood, Ohio, to fund a scholarship for a graduating senior going into the nursing or medical field. There'll be another item to approve setting up a fund for this. It's a scholarship that she first awarded last year, and she plans to continue it each year, so.
Very good, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation by the Friends of Rachel. Representatives, come and join us. Do we have a microphone yet, or are you going up to the podium? Perfect. So this evening, we have Julia McDaniel. She's a junior. Zachary Dunn is a sophomore. And Bella Futchko is also a sophomore. They're going to show us some pictures and tell us a little about it.
It was a fantastic catch.
Good catch.
Hi, my name is Zachary Dunn, and I'm here to show what Fort Club, aka Friends of Rachel, is about and how we came to be. In 2017, the GHS Thespians decided to put on the show A Rebel Without a Cause, which heavily depicts teenage mental illnesses and their struggles. Inspired by this, the Thespians decided to band together and create a student-ran group that would tackle these issues, and they decided on Rachel's Challenge, which centered around wanting to impact a multitude of people through a small act of kindness. The goal of Fort Club is to carry on Rachel Joy Scott's dream, which includes touching people's hearts, no matter who they are or where they are, through a simple act of kindness that could spread through anyone. And there's a myriad of different things that make up Rachel's Challenge, but the main 5 things are looking for the best in others, even when they don't see it in themselves. Number 2, dreaming big, even when it seems impossible. Number 3, choosing positive influences that impact the world around you in a positive and uplifting way. Number 4, speaking kindness to people who may not speak so kindly to themselves or to others. And number 5, starting your own chain reaction of kindness, no matter how small it may be. And we decided to put this to the test in October of 2022 when we started Friends of Rachel Training Day. And it was an entire day focused on uplifting activities and positive experiences throughout the entire school, where each student partook in their class period throughout the day, a fun activity that involved being kinder to each other or centering around friendship or togetherness and uplifting each other in any which way through little games and challenges.
I'll just give up. So a bunch of current projects we have going on currently. We have about 5 that we're currently have running right now, starting with the coat rack. It is located out in the cafeteria hallway. This is where students can take a coat to keep warm during the winter months. Next, we have Rachel's Corner that started out as a corner in the media center, and it has grown to be the size of a full classroom. We have items such as hygiene products, food, clothing, and hygiene products. We also have the Be the Eye and Kind photo that is posted on our Instagram page. This is where we pick a student who has shown a great amount of kindness, and we post it, the picture of them being the eye and kind. We also have the Chain of Kindness, which is where students write on a strip of paper acts of kindness that they have shown or have been shown, and we put them together and put them up in the hallway, and our goal is to eventually have it reach around the whole school. As I mentioned earlier, we have an Instagram page where we post the Be the Eye and Kind photos, updates on our chain links, and events that we are working on. Next is compliment tear-offs. Compliment tear-offs are where we post papers and students can tear off a compliment and read it so that they can feel good about themselves. We also give out goodie bags every Friday to 4 students, 1 from each grade, and it includes snacks, a little notebook, and a little toy. Every morning we do an inspirational quote in the morning announcements to help uplift the student body and staff. And finally, we have our kindness shout out. This is where we pick a staff member and who has shown great amounts of kindness in the classroom and in the hallways.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm going to talk about our future goals for 4 Club. So firstly, if it'll come on the slide, firstly is we want to have a promotional video for students. Now this video would be shown to students at the beginning of the year, kind of to let students know that 4 Club's there. Not only so that people who are very kind in Geneva High School, which there are tons of, can have a outlet to kind of express that kindness, but also so that people who need the resources that 4 Club is offering know that it's there and know that they can access them. We would also like to have welcome gifts for new students. Changing to a new school is really, really difficult, especially when you don't know anyone there. But welcome gifts for new students would allow students who are coming in to feel welcomed, to feel like someone is looking for them and caring about them. We would also like to continue our yearly chain reaction event. Now, like Zach had mentioned, this is an event that lasts all day where students get to bond with each other. They get to bond with teachers and other adults within the community and realize that they have similar experiences as them. You know, they can empathize with them. They can realize that maybe they have different experiences than them, but whether or not, they can be themselves. You know, it highlights all of our uniqueness and how we can all work together to be ourselves and kind of cooperate together. Now this is blast from the past, so this is some ideas that we had a long time ago and want to bring back, but for whatever reason we had to stop them due to COVID or some other things. So this is Dinners for Families in Need. Now personally this is one of my favorite things to bring back because this was started a few years ago with FCA and 4 Club, and we would meet every Friday down in the foods room, and we would make pasta and bread and salads and cookies, and we would bring these, staff and students would bring these to families who need them. Maybe they're grieving, or we just know that they're a family in need. This would be a wonderful thing to start up just because, you know, we're giving them things that they actually genuinely need, and we're helping the community. We'd also like to start locker hands. Now, this might sound a little weird at first, but so locker hands are basically students would come in on the first day of school and they'd go to open their locker, and all the lockers have hands on them, and they're paper hands that have a written note, a written affirmation to kind of boost them up. And these hands would stay there for as long as they could. And not only would these hands help students start their day with positivity, but they'd start their year with positivity. We'd also like to bring back Pajama Day, which was a fundraising thing that we would do to help fund all of these amazing and generous activities that we can do for students all the time. And finally, Lunch Buddies. Lunch Buddies, I know a lot of people in 4 Club kind of try and do this already, but it's kind of a title and a name for going up to people at lunch who might seem sad or like they need a friend or maybe just not themselves today, and kind of lending yourself to them, you know, being a person for them that they can talk to and that sort of thing. So the reason we're kind of here today is because we want not only we want support from within the school, and we want support from the community. You know, we want to be heard. You know, we want to be known. We have all these great resources for students, but they kind of are not as useful if people don't know about them. So lastly, I'd like to end this presentation with a quote from Rachel Joy Scott, who kind of inspired this whole idea. Compassion is the greatest form of love humans have to offer. I have this theory that if one person can go out of their way to show compassion, then it will start a chain reaction of the same. People never know how far a little kindness can go. And that's kind of just what we're trying to do. We're trying to see how much kindness we can spread into the world, into Geneva High School. So thank you. And then if anyone has any questions, yeah. Okay, awesome, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and Zach. This is a cause that's near and dear to my heart. I truly believe those things that Rachel said and that the students believe in, that kindness spreads and can spread faster than hatred, and so that's why I'm in on this with these guys. Thank you, guys. Oh, and thank you all for who donated this evening. So before the board meeting, I tried to advertise as much as I could. We had a drive for hygiene products. We have clothing, food, hygiene products in Rachel's classroom, closet. But hygiene products go very quickly. You know, they're pricey. And so if you ever want to drop off hygiene products for us to throw in there for students who need them, we'll take them. Thanks again, guys. Okay, Mr. Pierson, legislative report, please.
Thank you. So we don't have anything too thrilling again this month. We did see the House that voted 75-19 to pass HB 2. We had a pretty bipartisan vote on this. The legislation has some portions of the traditional capital budget, and then it looks at $350 million of the $700 million one-time strategic community investments that came from HB 33. Basically, this budget was passed by the House. It has $600 million for the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission to use for school building improvements across the state. So those go to a variety of districts. And now it's going to head to the Senate. So we'll see if that goes through. Any changes, pass it back. The House also voted 64-26 to get Senate Bill 17. This requires the state board to update the standards and model curriculum for financial literacy. We've seen the state call for that for a long time. This also includes entrepreneurship and includes grade 9 to 12. This is free market capitalism content, other kind of laissez-faire approaches, as well as Keynesian economics that's a little bit more practical, and they don't use those words that I just used, so it sounds a lot more fun. The House Ways and Means Committee, they amended HB 344. This would look at the property tax levies that we've been talking about, and it would make changes to the laws regarding property tax valuation, especially complaints, counter complaints and appeals. These amendment is fixing a technical drafting error, so in its current form, it's probably not as hyped up and changing as many as the millage as we would like. But what we're looking at is the age to qualify from any type of reduction goes from 70 to at least 65. We have occupancy requirements. It's reduced from 10 years to 2 years. Annual income, 70,000 to 50,000, and the home value necessary to qualify is reduced to less than 500,000. In the House Public Health Policy Committee, we heard sponsor testimony of 356. It was regarding cardiac monitoring for youth. This could be something like anything from a congenital heart defect to people having heat strokes and stop some of the more serious cardiovascular issues we have. It's nice to see people taking that seriously. And the Joint Committee heard invitation-only testimony from the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the National Federation of Independent Business, the Ohio Business Roundtable, and the Ohio Farm Bureau. This committee is tasked with reviewing Ohio's current property tax structure and making recommendations on how to proceed with bills related to property tax reform pending in the General Assembly. As we can see, 30% valuations in some places being raised to that level. The committee has not announced how many additional meetings will be held, but they're going to issue their report and recommendations by the end of this calendar year. Department of Education and Workforce, or as some call it, DO, has proposed new rules for open public comment, including digital media. So we're going to see how we, school boards in the state of Ohio, go forward with using digital media in our meetings. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pierson. ATEC report. Mrs. Ortiz.
The ATEC monthly meeting was on Monday, February 19th. There were several things discussed. We discussed the calendar there. They're trying to coordinate with all the different districts. The Bureau group is meeting with the superintendent and his committee for the construction project. They're starting B-building, roofing projects. They're sectioning out because it's so much to do, so they're trying to make it in manageable sections. Skills USA starts Friday in the regional level, and the Super Rapids grant for $391,000 was awarded. Stephanie Miller, the LPNRN coordinator, was recognized at our meeting, and she explained that they're adding virtual reality machines, 24 new computers, new desks, new TV screens, because the room is a very long classroom, so that the students that sit in the back will be able to have a better view, and the estimated groundbreaking for the new labs is summer of '24. And also, there's a very nice write-up in today's Gazette about the pasta dinner that happened on February 15th, if you have a chance to look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Treharn?
So first, we're going to start this evening. We have representatives here from the different booster groups. So first, we're going to kick it off with Mr. Griffiths from the academic boosters, who will be giving an update on their group's activities.
Good evening.
President Milliken, Dixon, members of the board, members of the administration. My name is Jeff Griffiths. I'm currently the treasurer of the Geneva Academic Boosters Club. Mission of the Geneva Academic Boosters is to promote, encourage, and recognize academic achievement, to foster academic improvement, and to inspire academic excellence of students in the Geneva Area School District. I'd like to say a brief thanks to our other officers, the McMichaels, Heather Clue, and Beth Cybalski. And also do a shout out to all the other booster groups, the elementary PTOs, the middle school parent groups, who are working tirelessly to support our students and staff in each of the schools. Some highlights of the work we've done this year, and then I'm going to give just a couple things that are on the forefront as well. One, we recently provided some teacher funding to Mrs. Booth and Mrs. Dragon for their science classes to purchase some Eclipse glasses. So that's just a supplemental thing every year that we offer teachers to submit an application for additional resources and materials, and we just approved that last week. In the fall, we did teacher appreciation lunch and some grab-and-go breakfast items. We're going to do another one of those during Teacher Appreciation Week, and next year, hopefully step up our game a little bit and hopefully do one or two more of those during the year. In the fall, we did our lamps and pin ceremony, where we provide recognition to students who have over a 3.5 or above with a lamp currently their first year, and then pin each additional year. We are going to change that in the future with hopefully an academic letter, a lamp for the second year, a pin for the third, and cords for 4 years in a row. And then we've forged a stronger partnership with the middle school parent group that we think makes a lot of sense with their organization to provide support with our tax-exempt entity as a fiscal agent, but also just with having so many parents having kids in the middle school and high school. We're gearing up, coming up for our end-of-year awards, where we do our ABC awards and scholarships, and we fund Outstanding Writer Awards. We're a pass-through for the Spirit of Geneva Award and the Bob King Award as well. This is also going to be the second year we oversee teacher awards. This will be the second year that we do the Geneva High School Teacher of the Year, voted on by administration, teachers, students, and staff. And then we also will have for the senior class, the All-Timer Award, where the senior class gets to nominate their all-time favorite teachers in each of the elementary schools and the middle school. We recently, from a fundraising perspective, had our Bagging for Boosters event at Geneva Giant Eagle. We raised about $1,400, more than we ever have, and the students just were so amazing and shined and were a great example for our community, and the community is obviously so generous, so we're grateful for that. Our signature fundraiser, the 9th annual Geneva Adult Spelling Bee, is coming up on Saturday, April 6th at 7 p.m. at the high school. The Bee Clips, and so we're excited to have teams out competing and vying for the Bee Trophy. Finally, in the process of exploring having an academic letter for recognition, we were reminded of the policy that currently exists that an athletic jacket you can purchase or at Sports and Sports if you have an athletic letter only. So if you have an athletic letter, you can get any jacket at Sports and Sports. If you have a band or music letter currently or in the future and an academic letter, you are restricted to any jacket but the athletic jacket. This, as a refresher, this policy was started in the 90s, my understanding is, when a student put something dumb on their jacket, and at the time, pre-internet shopping, the superintendent and the athletic director made this rule to try to put the kibosh on silly things like that. But the rule is outdated. If a student gets a band letter their freshman year and then doesn't get an athletic letter till their junior or senior year, do they have to wait to make that $400 personal purchase if they want the athletic jacket? We're the only district in the community that Sports and Sports deals with that has this rule. You can buy any jacket you want, Geneva jacket online currently. And as I said, it's a personal purchase that the school is not subsidizing. And the jacket is the way you personalize your activities, not the style, but what you put on it, all the things that you have. And so if you can start sooner to show your school spirit, isn't that a good thing? To stretch out that $400 investment a little bit longer in your high school experience. So I've spoken to 8 to 10 different varsity coaches, the Gridiron Club, Danielle Nicholson from the Letterman's Association, all the other booster groups, and all of them have said one of the following things. I didn't know that rule existed. That's kind of a dumb rule. Or that rule really shouldn't exist. I've not spoken to anyone who adamantly feels like this rule makes sense. Academic boosters have presented this information with Dr. Treharn last year. So I know that this board is committed to bringing students in our community together and unifying that. And so I come to you tonight from the academic boosters and I'm asking for a couple things. One, can you vote just to eliminate this dumb jacket rule and let Sports and Sports sell the Letterman jacket or any style jacket to any Geneva student who walks in? Done. That's all it would take. And then secondarily, we'll hope you get your endorsement that we will have a committee of the principal and all the booster groups and the athletic director and the music teachers, and we'll sit down and we'll talk about a uniform policy that we can all agree on that makes sense now in 2023 going forward for Letterman's jackets, et cetera. And so appreciate your thoughtfulness and action on this issue and your support of the Geneva Academic Boosters Club. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr.
Yeah.
Grass. So I've seen Letterman's jackets, and maybe it's because mine's older. And some have white rings on the sleeves. Is that just a preference, or mine did not? But I've seen some Letterman's jackets that almost have a white set of rings on the.
Yeah, there's one jacket that is the athletic jacket at Sports and Sports that was only to be sold to athlete letter winners, not band or music or eventually academic. But the athletic person who comes in can really buy any style. They can buy leather sleeves, they can buy a sweater, whatever they want. But those band, music, or eventually academic people wouldn't be able to buy that other one. And I don't think anyone really cares. I don't think the students care. Like I said, I feel like it's just an outdated rule.
And like I said, it may be, my son got an athletic one, and he went in and they said, this is the jacket you can have. So I didn't know there was a difference either.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Is the letter ready?
I'm sorry?
For academic boosters, is the letter ready?
Well, again, that's why I want to pull a group of folks.
So it's not ready yet?
What do you mean ready?
You said in the future there'll be a letter for academics.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're getting quotes on that now and can just have to order it. That's not the issue.
Okay, so it's coming.
Yeah, we give them out during the lamps and pins ceremony and then during graduation to folks over 3.5. And so, but convening the group you can talk about different ideas that you have. So some school districts, for example, have this just a plain letter, a G, let's say for Geneva, for music, academic, sports, and then you put a patch or something on it based on what that letter is for. That was a suggestion made. So there are some variations. We could buy a lamp tomorrow that has a lamp, or a letter on it tomorrow that has a lamp on it. But if there's unity that we can have through all the booster groups and the board and the...
So you just haven't decided on one yet?
No, I'm asking to have consensus and to bring everyone together and talk through that.
Okay.
We as an independent nonprofit can make a unilateral decision, but we're trying to bring all parties to the table so that we can have a decision moving forward that makes sense for now and for everyone else. So we made lots of decisions, but in this case, we're trying to, like I said, bring community groups together.
Okay, thank you.
And you need the board's endorsement for that group?
No, I mean, to tell Sports and Sports to sell any jacket to anyone, my understanding is Dr. Hrina-Treharn could just call them up and say, please sell them to anyone, but that decision hasn't been made.
It's not
So
policy, correct?
Correct, but I feel like if a board tonight votes and just says, hey, sell any jacket that you want, and then we'll form this separate committee to talk through next steps, then it's just done. We end this and it's not dragged out any longer.
Why do we have to vote on it if it's not policy?
So that it actually gets done. If not, it could just sit on a desk forever.
I see. So you want to light a fire under us to get it done?
Why not?
Yes, I hear you.
It's
Thank
old
you.
and it's dumb and it's antiquated for the current time.
Okay.
So.
Any other thoughts?
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's ridiculous to continue offering letter after letter after letter when you could put the activities that each student is in and make them personalized. And, you know, speaking as a parent that's purchased 2 of those jackets, I don't think it should be up to anyone else as to what we spend our money on for our child. We're not asking the school to endorse it. We're not asking them to pay for it. But I think it would be really nice to get everybody together and come up with a general consensus so we can all be on the same page.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is antiquated, and I think that it's discriminatory, actually. So if you're not a good enough athlete to get a letter in baseball, that's it. You don't get that certain kind of jacket. And not everyone is that. And I think that we shouldn't make non-athletes a second-class citizen.
Well, and I think the bottom line is the whole purpose of Letterman's jackets and these types of items are to build school spirit and unity. And if the entire process divides, then I'm not quite sure we're getting the benefits that we are looking for.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Dr. Hrina, will you please call Sports and Sports and make it happen? We don't have to vote on it, do we?
Make a motion?
Well, we don't have to vote on it. It's not policy.
Oh, perfect, then,
Do
yeah.
we want her to do that? I guess we just need a consensus, right? Do we want to let her know that we want Sports and Sports to sell any jacket to anybody who wants one?
I think that's great.
I think I'd like to meet with the administration.
Meet with the administration about it? Okay.
Sure.
Keep us posted, please.
Sure.
All right.
Next, from the athletic boosters, we have Mr. Rosales.
Good evening. The Athletic Boosters appreciates your time for inviting us to be here. Our bylaws list our objectives are to support the athletic programs at Geneva. We currently meet on the second Monday of every month at 6 p.m. Over the past year, we've met in person here at the high school cafeteria, and we welcome and encourage anyone and everyone to come and join us. It's usually about the same 10 to 11 faces, so, you know, we would like some new blood in there. Current officers are myself, President, A.J. Rosales, Vice Presidents are Ann Market-John and Lisa Nugent. Secretary is Mickey DiGiacomo, Treasurer Kristen Bowser, and Concessions Manager Bobby Joe Park. Jen Crossley serves as a liaison to the schools for requests from the coaches and funding, and she does a great job bringing in new projects to us. Our larger projects over the last 12 months, we spent $13,500 in uniforms, new uniforms for all the programs, $11,500 in awards and letters for all of our student athletes, which is awesome because that just means more students are coming out or we're achieving more successes or we're winning more. So it's awesome to spend that money on our students. For tournaments, so meals and travel costs, whether it's playoff games, whether it's wrestling, swimming going to district, it's the wrestlers going to districts, or regionals advancing, and even state. We did have a couple students go to state last year in track. We have spent about $6,200 last year, and just on regular equipment, where there was the new basketball cages for the high school, we got some new pole vault poles for track last year. We spent about $1,600, and then we spent $2,000 in scholarships last year for the athletics, the student athletes that submit their essays to us for the end of the year. So it's been good. To support these costs, we do hold fundraisers, and we also operate concessions here at the high school. During this year, we held the following fundraisers. So for concessions, we've raised about $8,300. In our reverse raffle last year, which is our fall fundraiser, it's the largest, one of the largest fundraisers we do, we raised a little over $7,600. And for the football games here, for the 50-50, we got about $4,500 we raised. So we've had some pretty decent fundraisers, but just know that all of our fundraisers are volunteer-based. So we would not be able to do any of this without the volunteers, without the parents of our student athletes. So we greatly appreciate them and everyone who has put in the volunteer hours to help us, especially at the 50-50. You know, it's tough when you've got a student on the field on Friday night and you're going around trying to sell tickets and you're on the opposite side of the football field selling 50-50. So we do have some parents that do that, so we greatly appreciate them doing that. We have currently raised about $2,600 more in the past year than we have spent, but our goal and our objective is to spend what we make. So we do have some things lined up to make some other purchases for some teams this year. Our spring fundraiser is coming up. It's going to be Purse Bingo again. We're going to be hosting, or not we're going to be hosting, but Grand River Sellers will be hosting us on March 18th. So come on out if you like purses. It goes for both men and women. Come get your wife or your daughter some purses. It is a fun time. We do have a really good selection of purses. And again, we express our appreciation both to our community and our school system for your support of our operations through the years and support of our athletic activities in our school system. So thank you for your time.
Can I ask you just one question? For the scholarships, is that 2, 4?
It was a total of 4 last year, and it's paid out, oh no, it was 2, I'm sorry, a male and a female, and then they've got to turn in their transcripts to us at the end of the semester. As long as they're maintaining a certain average, we will make that check out to their school, or we'll give it to them to provide to their school to pay for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say thank you because our daughter went to districts for swim and she was absolutely giddy that she had $25 to spend on whatever she wanted for snacks. And I know that was courtesy of Boosters, so thank you very much.
No problem.
For 11 people, that's a pretty big lift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And from Gamba, we have Ms. Leitner here to speak.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Sammy Lechner, and I'm representing Gamba as their current secretary. Gamba, as you know, is the parent volunteer run booster that supplements and supports the music programs, directors, and students at Geneva area city schools. This year has been an exciting year for not only Gamba, but for the directors and students. Our choir raised funds and were able to help the students from GHS travel to Italy, where we feel they did a phenomenal job representing GHS, their community, under the leadership of Michelle Mather. Our high school band sent a few students to participate in the honors band as well. We had 1 student attend in November for band and 2 in January for honors jazz band. 3 students participated in solo and ensemble, receiving 2 superior and 1 excellent performance ratings. Honors band was Chase Nicastro. Honors jazz was Chase Nicastro and R.J. Williams. Solo and ensemble included R.J. Williams, Madeline Manupella, and Elias Ocorn, my apologies on the last name, Jimenez. Our combined marching and concert band is also gearing up to begin fundraising for what we hope will be an exciting announcement coming soon. Middle school band will have some representatives attending solo and ensemble and will be performing at the Austenburg Memorial Day Parade this year. Gamba in general is gearing up for the election of officers in the next few weeks and is also planning our reverse raffle. The funds raised will go toward our general fund, which help provide scholarships, awards, and letters for the students. And personally, I appreciate the opportunity to be with this organization as my daughter is involved, and it's just wonderful to be able to be a part of this with many of your guys' kids. We have a great bunch of kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sammy.
No questions for Sammy? How'd they make you come is my question. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, here's the service awards.
Are we all going up or just you two?
You wanna go?
I'm asking, I don't know.
I think last month we just didn't make it.
Okay, all right.
You're welcome to join us.
No, that's okay.
Me too. I'm just making sure. This is
Remember that.
insane.
All right, earlier this year, we started recognizing our staff for their years of service and dedication to the district. And in doing so, we have honored those with at least 10, 15, 20, and 25 years of service respectively. And this evening, we will celebrate those who have at least 30 years of service. That is some serious dedication. Our administrators have already joined us, so thank you. They will help present to the staff that are here this evening. And I would ask that everyone in the audience help us recognize the individuals when they are called up as well, as they will be presented with both a certificate and a token of our appreciation.
Thank you. And from Cork, I have quite a few, but here this evening we have Miss Elisa Schrader. Come on up. And I also have Miss Jenny Ball. I'm really trying to look to make sure I'm not missing anybody, so hopefully I didn't. But thank you. And thank you for all of your years you put in with me and are showing the dedication to our district. It is greatly appreciated. I'll wait till they're done.
Okay, from the, are we there? There we are, sorry. From the high school, there are a few with us this evening. Ms. Kim DeBacker, come on down. Mrs. Nancy Barbo, come on down. And one quick last look. I think that is all that joined us this evening, but these two are great representatives of the folks on the list from the high school. As you guys all know, Mr. Backer is one of our school counselors, saving children's lives and my life daily. Truly. And Mrs. Barbeau, just an amazing interventionist who works tirelessly for her students. You're welcome. That's all. It's all love. Okay. Anybody from Central? No? Okay. Sing.
She took the mic away from him.
Evening. I'm glad to be back. I know so many of you missed me from the January meeting, but I am glad to be back at GPS and healthy and ready to go. You missed me? Thank you, Mr. Markdown. At GPS this month, we celebrated Groundhog's Day, Black History Month, the 100th day of school, Valentine's Day, President's Day, and Kindness Week. Each event had many great lessons. I cannot tell you, walking through the hallways, all the hard work that the teachers did, and the students did. It seems like it was just like a flip. 1 week we're doing this, 1 week we're doing that, 1 week we're doing that. They did a fabulous job. The students did a fabulous job, and I was very proud to see that all these things were represented this month. Also, the kindergartners became surgeons. They dressed in gowns, had masks, gloves, and hats. Each one of those surgeons had like a little patient chart, and they were Dr. So-and-so, and they were to remove the correct vowel from the pen or the pan on the table. They even had little IV bags hanging up. I had to question what was in there. They tell me it was fruit punch, so I'm going with fruit punch. And then I asked if the kids got to drink it because I was a little scared.
Red?
Huh?
The IV bags were red?
Yes.
That's funny.
Yes. I walked. There's pictures. I give you
That's what I'm
pictures.
looking up. Thank you for sending it.
Yes.
Via email.
I was a little concerned, but I was even shown the fruit juice container. Kindergarten second graders are the dedicated extended learners this month. Fourth graders visited ATEC. They got to visit 5 of the 19 programs that they get to offer. So that was nice for them. Book vending machine update. I don't even have words to express to you how excited these students get to get their coin. They get their coin by being a Soaring Eagle of the Month. We have kindness. Miss Kinney does a kindness box, and every Friday she draws. The students can pick a coin, or they can pick a toy or something that she has. A lot of times they are picking the box. They're picking the coins so that they can go. They are just so excited to go. I can't even express it. I mean, you have to see it to really appreciate it. But we've gone over 300 books already, just so far this year.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Conferences were held this month. A lot of families came through. Teachers were working hard, making sure that they got all the information to parents, keep them up to date on what is happening with their students. So it was nice to see the families walking around and the collaboration between the staff and the families.
These pictures are great.
I know. The 100-year-old kids.
Notice the blood.
I can't even. They're so funny. So funny.
I mean, even Christy, if she would have came down, she would have thought it was blood. I mean, I'm just saying. That's how realistic
Well,
it was.
she needs a training, maybe.
Just a reminder, the school did win the Buddy Bench contest. I put a picture of the bench in there for you. It has not arrived yet, but it is on its way. And we put it on our Facebook page. We put it in newsletters, and we were voted upon. So that says a lot for us. So I look forward to getting the bench and putting it out there. So there is more inclusivity out at recess.
Amy, where's it go? On the playground?
It's going to go out on in the recess area, yes.
Oh.
So child's having a bad day, they can sit there. I just feel like nobody likes me today. I'm going to sit there. Staff can go, students can go. Kind of reminded me of the presentation earlier today.
Board members go?
Board members can go.
Okay, good.
Yes. Upcoming events, we have the Sky Dome Planetarium that we'll visit on March 18th. There's some information there for that. We also have the 4th annual Red Bow 5K that will be held Saturday, April 6th. And it is at GPS. It begins and ends there. The proceeds from this race will go towards awarding scholarships to Geneva seniors. The scholarship will be given in the memory of Kelly Early and Annie Bryan. Last year, 4 $1,000 scholarships were awarded. So the Red Bow 5K was started in 2021 to honor the memory of Kelly, who had a passion for running. Also, the Darkroom Brewery in downtown Geneva will be hosting a basket raffle party to benefit the scholarship fund to raise some money for that. So that information is there for you as well. Enjoy some of the pictures. I have some 100-day kindergartners in there. And like I said, look at the blood. You just can't tell.
Thank you.
Mr. King?
Uh-oh. Don't drink it.
Don't drink
It's
it.
not fruit punch.
Tomorrow's will be real, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. There is a lot in here, and I'm not going to go over everything. I'm just going to mention some of the quick hits here. A big shout out to Mrs. Monahan's group. They were the winners of the American Legion mural contest. So not only will they paint the, I think it's what, quick math, a 600 square foot mural on the side of the American Legion building in Ashtabula, but they will also be getting $2,500 to spend over and above in their classroom beyond their normal supplies on things they would like to take their projects even further. So they did an amazing job. Mr. Cornelius and Mr. Hadlock from the American Legion came and shared the news with the class, and it was fantastic. Great folks. Tonight, Nathan Regal is in Canton getting ready for states. He qualified in 2 events for the swim competition, and thank you very much to the boosters because I know they were instrumental in helping make sure that our coach had lodging and whatnot to be able to make sure that all of our athletes are supported, all of our coaches are supported. We could definitely not do it without you guys. But we were able to send Nathan a good luck video. So he is there and he's getting ready. Also, we honored Coach Long along with the Ohio Association of Track and Cross Country Coaches. She was awarded she was awarded the conference's award for sportsmanship, ethics, and integrity. If you know Coach Long, that's her. That's who she is. She walks the walk every single day. Our seniors participated in mock interviews, which was awesome. We had a lot of great volunteers, including Superintendent Treharn. Just a wide array of folks came and helped us out. It was fantastic. It was great to see some of those students that maybe don't express themselves freely around folks, begin to break out of their shells in that process. I know Miss Markajon's here somewhere. Shout out to Miss Markajon and her group. Hopefully you all saw our academic challenge crew. I knew it, back in October, and I'm not good at keeping secrets, but ta-da, they won. And, they beat Berkshire, so that's, whatever. Oh, and I do. I may have gave them an offer they couldn't refuse if they beat said school. And I think by looking at the score, we'll be playing Berkshire in our first girls playoff game. Right now, I think Berkshire is beating Conneaut 42-13, and we play the winner of that game on Saturday. And I did highlight in your board packet just some quick hits for wrestling and cheer. We are grateful for all they do and the coaching staffs of each sport. And at the end, there is a very quick shout out to Mrs. Papik for providing the snacks for our blended learning program. It is incredibly helpful for those students to help them keep their focus.
Thank you. Mr. Poland?
I went over my 2 minutes.
Good evening. Just want to say something for the students for Rachel's Challenge. You guys did an awesome job. Really thank you for coming in and doing that. It's great to see students present, especially when we're in the younger grades, because we always wonder how you guys turn out as you get older. You guys did a great job. And as educators, we come here to say, we want to empower, prepare, and have a positive impact on the students in our community and all the teachers and parents and community members out here. You guys have done a great job. That's an example. Thank you so much. You've done an incredible job. And we'd have some great programs in middle school that help build upon that. Mrs. George has some programs that she does with the food on Fridays she takes out. We have a closet we have clothes for kids and hygiene products also. We have our Student of the Week that Mrs. Carnett has started this year. This past couple weeks we focused on our SOAR, PBIS SOAR acronym, and every week we give out 8 to 12 awards for students. They get to pick a book from the book vending machine. We had our Technology Week. I spoke about that in a previous meeting. And something that's come out of that is very positive is during some of the study halls, once or twice a week, the kids are asking to play board games. So they'll sit in groups and see them playing Uno, Battleship, other games. So they're actually talking to each other instead of just sitting there playing games on the computer. So it's nice to see them communicate with each other, and that's a positive impact from that. We had our spelling bee. We had a 6th grade student, Riley Verant, was crowned a spelling bee champ. She moved on to the county spelling bee on the 15th. She did not win, but she did very well. We're very proud of her. Our runner-up, and I'm not going to even pronounce his last name because I can't, Vadim. Vadim is he came from Ukraine. He did very well for Ukraine. He came from Germany, Ukraine, Germany, then here. He did a great job. Another story about him I can tell later, not with everybody involved, but funny story. Our parent boosters, Jeff spoke with them earlier. I think he left. Oh, he's back here. Parent boosters do a great job. They fed the staff on both parent-teacher conferences. They're planning events for the end of the year. They have some fundraisers. We just had a very successful book fair at the middle school that they ran. Did a very good job with that. Again, all that money goes back to the students. Joe Carroll continues to come in and do life skills, topics of self-esteem, decision-making, dealing with stress, so forth. And we had our high school counselors come down and talk to our 8th grade students about scheduling for next year at the high school. They're a little nervous about that, I must say. So we're going to do some events coming up here in May to ease that transition. I was still mapping that out. Try to ease the transition from 5th grade to middle school also, because that's a big step for all of them. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Mrs. Porcello?
All right, I'll keep mine short and sweet. I did note that the department, I think I'm going to call it the department, did come out with a list of high quality ELA curriculums for K-5. There's a requirement for schools to adopt curriculum for ELA that aligns with SOAR and is considered high quality. And the current program that we have, Wonders 2020, was on that list. So for the near future, we're okay. And I know that it is on the list of adoptions sooner than later. They also sent out, they began collecting for vendor applications for a high quality reading intervention programs. So for our special ed tutors and our Title I tutors programs that would benefit our students in those settings. The second phase of the special education profile was released last week on the 15th. That phase included disproportionality in identification, placement, and discipline within special education, and Geneva Schools met all indicators and has no corrective actions necessary in that area. And last month, it was right after the board meeting, actually, I received an email from Mackenzie, who is the Wilson consultant that is working with our 9 staff members that are completing the Wilson Level 1 certification. She sent me the email to give kudos to everybody that is completing it. She specifically noted Miss Brunsman, I don't want to marry her off, Miss Brunsman, Mrs. Cruz, and Mrs. Bowser for having amazing progress throughout the program. I was talking to Ms. Kirk today, and I told her, she says it's a lot of work. She has an observation tomorrow, as does Mrs. Doherty. It's a lot of work, and I know that because I've done it, but at the end, when you give that final test, it's gonna all be worth it. So they've been working really hard, I know, and it's a lot of work. So thank you to them. And also, in line with what Mrs. Berzanko mentioned about that book vending machine, my favorite day of the week is Friday when I hear Mrs. Kinney get on the speaker and she's gonna announce our kindness winners, because I know that there's gonna be kids at that vending machine and they are so excited. I rush out of my office so I can get down there and I can see their faces while they're fishing through what they're gonna pick. They always have stories about why they pick what they're picking. They're so excited about it. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you. Mr. Riley?
Nice paper, by the way, Kelly. Happy Valentine's Day.
It was a lot cuter
It's
in the emailed version. It
decorative.
was red and pink and white.
Yes.
It was really cute.
I know.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things on my end. Very similar to last year, we had our elementary students in the gifted program. They went over to the library. Each one of the buildings went over to the library, and they, with Lauren Webster and her crew, did some challenges last year. This year, they did a zip line observation experiment. And essentially, you can imagine they created a little zip line in the front of the library, and the students had to take little cardboard pieces with, I guess, washers of different weight, perhaps, and figure out how to, like the velocity they were going to come down, and did their contraption work? Did it crash? Did it, they were talking about, the students were throwing out words that I was just amazed at while I was there. Variables, friction, velocity, speed, aerodynamics, weight distribution. They were having conversations with one another using that lingo and the adults that were there. That was impressive. There are some pictures in there, kind of what it looked like. There was one young man that kept refining his airplane, I guess I would call it, 7, 8, 9, 10 times over again, but he was really proud of that. So the field trips are there, listed on their GPS is going tomorrow. Also upcoming, we are having some STEM nights at the library. This is for grades 3 through 5, which will be on March 6th, and grades 6 through 8, which is on March 14th. I've listed there the activities that they're going to be doing at those events. I'm kind of intrigued exactly what the Spaghetti Tower Engineering Challenge is going to be for the elementary students, and the egghead experiment for the middle school. They both sound interesting to me, but the VR experience last year when they did it was a hit. They would put on the virtual reality devices on their heads, and I don't know what they were swinging at in those rooms, but the kids were smiling and they were having a lot of fun doing it. And so we had about 25, 30 parents that showed up to each night last year, so hopefully that'll happen again. This year I did put a couple of information flyers or newsletters that the libraries put together to send out on that one. Also, I've included in the board report the district testing schedule for the spring. We're currently underway with the Ohio English Language Proficiency Assessment, or the OELPA for short. That started on January 29th, and the alternative assessments for students with significant cognitive disability starts on February 26th. Everything else happens after spring break. So we took a lot of thought and some input into creating this year's schedule. Just want to make sure that everybody had a copy of that moving forward. And last but not least, all of our professional development days for the year are wrapped up. No professional development day or season, we'll call it, is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I just wanted the board to take a look that we did have over 20 school personnel, 15 outside organizations. We tried to do our best to address 34 different topics at one point or another throughout the course of the year. Again, nothing's perfect. We're going to keep remodeling and keep working towards what we would like to do, but however, I just wanted to make sure everybody had that listing there. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Mrs. Doherty?
Yes, Wilson's is very hard. It's a lot of papers and a lot of things that you have to juggle. And I do want to thank my teachers. I hope I thank them enough for putting up with me while I'm trying to juggle everything. But in working with the student that I'm working with, I've already seen a lot of improvements, and his mom is very impressed as well. So it's a great program. It kind of bounces off the Foundations program. So it's a great program. Thank you for getting me involved, I think. But anyway, we're almost done, so it's okay. And also to my teaching staff, I never do them justice. This is so hard for me because there's so many things going on, and when you're sitting there, you're like, oh, I didn't mention that, and I didn't mention that, and I didn't mention that. But we've also been doing, like Mrs. Brzenko said, 100th Day, President's Day, a lot of activities, recognizing Black History Month, a lot of things going on. But I like to ask the teachers what's happening in their classrooms so I can report, because not all of us are always in their classrooms for everything. And there's a lot of wonderful things going on in there. And yes, I owe you 2 pictures, 2 of my report things. I thought I had the pictures in there, but I don't know where they went, but I'll get them to you. But in Mrs. Espanic's autism unit, their literacy theme was outer space, and this is one of the pictures I'm missing because it's so cute. They read stories. They did a lot of creating solar systems, planets, and then they all made their own astronaut outfits out of cardboard, and they were just so cute. It was really nice. They were so excited. Their astronaut helmets, and then, of course, they have to make space slime. You just have to do that. Our 3rd grade's been very busy at parent-teacher conferences. They went over our results of the fall testing with families, and they are really sharing with parents strategies to use at home to be successful. And we're focusing right now on 2nd and 3rd grade that are extended learning. But I think what we're going to do at the next session is, since we have been looking and for students that might be at risk for dyslexia, we're going to focus on some of those because that's very important. But we got to get ready for that test. And they are in the Final Four. Mr. Markajon, I said they were in 10th place. Are we still in 10th place? He keeps me posted. Do you know? Okay, we haven't gotten an update yet. But we are doing the NCAA Final Four women's college basketball, and they are logging a lot of minutes. So those teachers are really pushing them. They do get prizes every so often if they get a badge. So the kids are really involved in that. And again, I'll mention the book vending machine. They're trying to get coins so they can get more books so they can read some more. Plus our library is wonderful and packed thanks to Mrs. Fobel. They also are going to pair up with 4th grade again. They did this last year in writing reports, so I love that they are teaming up with older students who have written reports. They've been writing reports this year, so they're going to guide our 3rd graders because we really have to get them writing, especially on the test. They just want to put 1 sentence for an answer, so that kind of helps them. And last year we really had a lot of progress building wide with our writing. Kindergarten's been busy reading books about winter, snowmen, and penguins. They read Sneezy Snowman, and they practiced their fine motor skills and created melting snowmen. They sequenced events and discussed cause and effect and identified examples from the book. They painted winter background. So our teachers take one theme and they can cover a lot of content areas that students need to work on, and that's an example of that. And then our PBIS team just sent in our application to hopefully be bronze or silver, whatever we make it to for next year. And quickly, our family groups, we have met and we are using our spot books, and our family group is going quite well. It's only a half an hour, but it's a great time to connect, make connections. And you know, the Rachel's Challenge, I'm sitting there getting ideas for some of that too. So there's a lot of good things going on. Our PTO has been very busy. They had 2 assemblies with Jungle Terri. I do have a picture of a very large snake that some of our brave teachers held up. I ran the other way. And so the kids loved it. But he really connected the animals that are around in our area and safety. You know, you don't want to go up to this and that. So I thought that was wonderful because he really made those connections. And we've had a book fair, Valentine parties, everything going on. Our PTO is very busy. So thank you.
Thanks, Missy.
And Mr. Markajon?
Thank you. You guys talked an awful lot tonight. Absolutely. And our kids and our teachers and staff at Osnaburg do an amazing job, and they take care of me each and every day, and I'm very grateful. This will be relatively brief. our 5th grade students have gotten into our STEM lab, and they were doing some experiments with red cabbage juice, which is a wonderful indicator for acids and bases. And they were testing out some of the common household products to see whether it would change the cabbage juice one color towards an acid or another color towards a base. And they tried to guess what it would be, and I think they were surprised at the outcome of some of the everyday products in doing that. But it was good use of the STEM lab, and Mrs. Nugent and Mrs. Cozy working with those 5th graders on that science was good to see. Not so good to smell, but good to see. Our kindergarten classes did a project on Martin Luther King Jr. Day back in January. It was really nice to see the work that they did and just trying to get out the message of love and not hate. It was a pretty positive message for our kindergarten students. The NCAA Women's Final Four in Cleveland, there is a reading competition for Northeast Ohio for the Cleveland area. And various schools, elementary schools, 3rd grade could go ahead and participate in this. My 2 3rd grade teachers, Mrs. Nelson and Mrs. Nappy, said that they would go ahead and take on this challenge. And as of last Tuesday, we had made it into the top 68, so we qualified for the Final Four tournament. And as of last Tuesday, Ostenburg Elementary is in 2nd place in the whole area. Cork is right behind us in 10th place. But that is top 10 material, Mrs. Doherty. Congratulations. And before I came to the meeting, we got an email that didn't say whether we were 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, but it said we are in the top 3 in the area still, and they want to come out and give donuts to the kids and lanyards for the NCAA Women's Final Four. So we'll see how this progresses, but our kids have done an amazing job with reading, and once again, our 2 3rd grade teachers have been promoting this and helping support these students in this challenge. So it's been fun to watch and see. And finally, for safety stuff for the district, our 3-year safety plan is up this year. We've met with all of the safety forces and our school officials, and we start writing our new safety plan starting next week. So we're meeting on that and working on that. But thank you. And boosters, thanks for talking tonight. I did have a meeting with our AESA group, and they were so jealous that they don't get a chance to come talk to the board and talk about all the wonderful things that they do at Ostenburg. And if they knew I said that, I'd be in trouble. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
I have a variety of updates this evening. First, I would like to start promoting, again, this is an annual event, but the free RAM Medical, Dental, and Vision Clinic is again coming to Lakeside High School. So if anyone is interested in that, that will be April 13th and 14th. Again, it's free, first come, first serve, so hopefully people will take advantage of that. I wanted to give a shout out. I added this little note late, but I've been seeing Ms. DeBacker's emails coming through, and she has sent out numerous opportunities for scholarships lately. So if you have a senior, please encourage them to apply. There are a lot of opportunities out there to get money for college. So thank you. I appreciate that she does that. I know that Mr. King had mentioned the mock interviews already. I have to say I thoroughly enjoy taking part in those. With Mrs. Fazio's classes, she does an excellent job preparing the students, and I was so impressed with how the students interviewed. I think they interview as well as some well-experienced people interview that I've conducted before. So great job to those, and I certainly appreciated the follow-up thank you notes from the students that I had received. after those interviews. Moving on, policy committee. I was asked by Mrs. Milliken Dixon to create a policy committee and to include a member from GATA, OPSI, an administrator, and a board member. So at this time, I do have an administrator and board member. I did put it in my January newsletter, and I'm hopeful that I will get someone from GATA and OPSI to volunteer. So that's an update on that. Mr. King again mentioned Mrs. Papik. I also would like to give a shout out to her. We are officially approved by the state to start the after-school snack program. So that started on February 20th. And with that, after-school snacks are offered in each building on days that there are extended learning. So as long as the student is attending the extended learning program, they get one snack bag for free, which includes a grain snack, which could be whole grain bagged snacks, or crackers, and then fruit, juice, or vegetable. She has also started a new initiative at the high school. She started a self-serve fresh fruit and vegetable bar that was implemented, and it seems to have been a great addition to the food service program, and she reported that they've gotten very positive feedback from both students and staff at this point. So I certainly appreciate her taking the initiative there. I think I've mentioned previously, I do sit on the state report card committee down in Columbus, and I was there earlier this month for another report card committee meeting. We are certainly reporting, and they're reporting, that we can expect to see more changes to come on the report card in the future. Also, Director Dakin, who is new, his top 4 priority areas were shared, which I would like to pass along. Those were literacy, learning acceleration, student wellness, and workforce readiness. So I'm sure that we will see a lot more emphasis from the state as different things are coming down the pike. And it was also reported that through EMIS, the state got a grant. So the EMIS Alliance will be offering training on report cards for data teams for different districts across the state of Ohio. So they're encouraging that each district sends a data team to get trained. And the point of these trainings is to really go through every piece of data that impacts the report card and make sure that everyone has a thorough understanding of that. And these are expected to occur from May to mid-June rather. So I'm hopeful that we will have a data team to send to that training. Just wanted to give an update on the pilot grant that I talked about last month that we had received. I've been working with Alternative Graphics in Geneva on some of the items that are going to be going into the welcome bins. So each bin to welcome new families who have a first child entering the district are going to get some Geneva Spirit gear that they are working on right now creating. They will get a yard sign in their yard, books, and then we decided to partner with Chamber and give them an opportunity to donate items to the bin to help promote their businesses, but also make sure the families are aware of the wonderful local businesses that we have here in the community. So for any of you or all of you that voted, we put out 4 different graphic options on our district social media. Thank you for voting. And it was a very close race. The winning design won by only 3 votes, but the winning sign, I should say, will say Geneva Schools welcomes you to our district. And it will have both the Tuffy logo on it as well as the Pilot Flying J logo. Again, to thank them because the grant was through the Pilot company. And last but not least, we have our Soaring Eagles. So starting with Austenburg, chosen by Mrs. Howard, we had kindergartner Olivia Chadwick, and she wrote that Olivia was chosen because she is exceptionally passionate, polite, and respectful, as well as a hard worker. She always remembers to say good morning, please, and thank you, and empathizes with and helps her classmates. When a peer is sad or hurt, Olivia is eager to help by offering comfort or a solution to a problem. She loves to help guide her friends, for example, with sounding out words. She is a motivated student who has shown very impressive growth in all areas of kindergarten. Way to go, Olivia. At Cork, 5th grader Adriana Shannon was chosen by Mrs. Limpert, and Mrs. Limpert wrote that Audrey was chosen as a Soaring Eagle because she demonstrates their January character trait of perseverance. Even though reading may be tough for her, she puts in the extra effort and has made great gains on her reading diagnostic. She is always on the lookout for anyone who appears to need help, when they might need a friend or someone who is in need of help. She stands up for any student that she sees is in need or not being treated kindly by others. Audrey truly soars at Cork Elementary. Lastly, for our elementary buildings, Mrs. Brigard also chose a 5th grader, Brandon Sisler, and she wrote that Brandon is a quiet boy who naturally falls into the category of helper. She says that she can look over at him during a lesson and he is helping his neighbor read a passage or find the information that they just underlined. If a student says they don't understand something and she is working with someone else, he is often the first person who states they will help. There are many times that Brandon is seen embodying the idea of doing the right thing when nobody is watching, and that is why she recognized him as the soaring eagle. At the middle school, 7th grader, who goes by Jay, Vincenz Cruz, was chosen by Mrs. Hazler, and she said that Jay is an exceptional student, classmate, and friend. She loves having Jay in her class. She is kind, hardworking, and overall just a role model for the characteristics we want here at Geneva Middle School. And finally, at the high school, senior Gwendolyn Keel was chosen by Mr. Clemens, and he wrote that Gwen is a senior at GHS and is in the CBI program. She demonstrates many qualities of an outstanding student, employee, classmate, and community member. Gwen currently works 2 jobs in Geneva and attends school. She is a very conscientious student who always works hard and completes assignments on time. She is kind to classmates and coworkers at the workplace. Gwen is very much appreciated by her employers and the customers that she deals with at her places of work. She is quick to help a classmate or coworker and often adapts to complete tasks, whether that is at school or in the workplace. She is respectful and treats others well. Gwen is also very responsible and communicates and notifies her teacher and employers of any changes in her schedule or if an absence may occur. All of this is very much appreciated and makes a difference.
Change orders, you right?
Was that?
Next is change order.
Yeah. I mean, you read it to make it for the
Oh,
vote.
yeah, okay. The following change order is enclosed for the board's review. It consists of an additional $10,462.73 for loose furnishings. What is it? A credit, thank you. A credit of $5,015 for fiberglass. An additional charge of $41,069.19.
4,000.
Excuse me. An additional charge of $4,169.19 for cold weather protection, and a credit again for $10,000 some odd dollars for exterior water line. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
So a net credit of
A net credit.
$425.
Right, they owe us $425.76. Did they offer an explanation about the furnishings costing another $10,000?
It was for some additional shelving, and it was in the packet.
It was?
Yep, for the storage room shelving,
Oh, I
additional
apologize.
cost, including the loose furnishing allowance.
Okay, thank you. I'll look it up. Any other comments or questions about that? The superintendent recommends approval for the Geneva High School band students to travel to Florida during the week of spring break 2025.
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Discussion, I'm trying to skip ahead. Discussion on that?
This is exciting, Disney
It
World.
is exciting.
This is very exciting.
And the exact dates, of course, are waiting for the calendar to be approved. So that's why it just says spring break.
No, it's got the dates, March 22nd to March 27th, which coincides
What
with.
do I have, an old
both-
agenda?
It
I
coincides
don't
with.
have any of these materials that are in this packet.
I don't either.
It coincides with the.
It's in the board packet.
I believe
that
it's
you
in the
received.
email from Amy.
That's twice, I'm missing something. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to go back and look. I apologize. I don't
You
have
can
all the
pass that
paperwork.
down if you'd like.
So what are the dates?
March 22nd to the 27th of 2025.
Thank you.
And I wanted to note, I did get a letter from Anna Brown, the director of bands, talking about it, and she included the proposal that was in the board packets, and she wrote that the purpose of the trip is to perform in a parade through the Magic Kingdom on Tuesday of the week that they are going there, and to perform for Disney's Performing Arts soundtrack session on the Monday. They're hoping to have a student-adult ratio of 9-to-1 in regards to chaperones, which is great. And she said after board approval, so she was very optimistic, I
Right.
appreciate that. She said after board approval, she'll release the information to the band membership to start to get commitments so that they can take a closer look at the numbers. And certainly they will do fundraisers, much like choir did for their Italy trip.
Noteworthy Tours likes blue ink.
I think it's a very clever name, Noteworthy, for music tours. Noteworthy, get it? All right. Any other discussion? There we go. Now, roll call, please.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
The superintendent recommends approval of the enclosed MOU between the Board of Education and GAT regarding the nurse vacancy. Just a quick note, I'm not sure when we received it. I think during the meeting, right? Right before that GATA did approve this, correct? So we were gonna say that too. Okay. So I need to a motion.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion about that? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
The treasurer recommends the board approve the enclosed resolution declaring its support for the Fair School Funding Plan and authorizing the payment of the requested amount to become a member of Fair School Funding Plan, Inc. for calendar year '24.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Could you just explain it a little bit?
Sure. This is an ask very similar to like the Ohio Coalition for Adequacy and Equity, OEPI. In this case, as I think most of you know, a group of superintendents and treasurers commissioned by former state rep, state senator, Supreme Court Justice Bob Cupp, and our own rep, John Patterson, formed the Fair School Funding Plan Work Group and came up with what is felt to be a fair school funding plan, something that hasn't been done before, put together by educators rather than the legislature. And again, I think we've said many times, the legislature's funding model has been a whatever's left goes to education.
Right.
And so this is defining what it takes to educate a student today, and it needs to be continually updated. The plan itself was so far phased into the last biennium budget and this biennium budget. It was a 6-year phase-in because the legislature didn't want to get hit with the costs all at once. So we're still pushing to get that fully phased in. We are also pushing to get that updated because you need updates, otherwise
Absolutely.
there'll be a big disconnect between the state share and the local share if they don't constantly update. And even with those, it's behind. Obviously, for our 24-25 budget, the updates were 22. The original was using 18 because that's what the group, when we started in 17, were using. And so that requires an effort. Basically, this group has now formed a 501c6 and has named an executive director. And all the work so far has been volunteer. I mean, nobody's getting paid and nobody will continue to get paid except for an executive director. But the support is needed to fund timely research, analysis, interaction with the education community, advocacy in the State House. That's why it's a C6, not a C3, as well as a paid executive director and other essential staffing to ensure this effort will be successful. Not only successful with the final phase-in, but the goal is to get this into permanent law. So this is the funding method, and then each year the legislature just needs to provide the funding. to continually update the inputs, and it has been a battle. It hasn't just waltzed into place. It's been a fight every step of the way, a lot of testimony and putting pressure on legislatures that want to take money away from public schools and give it to private school and parochial school vouchers.
Charters.
So, and charter schools,
Yes.
right, Michelle, you're right. So the ask is, and the information was included in the packets, a number of information explaining a copy of the invoice, but they're asking for 30 cents per pupil per year with a minimum amount of 225 for those districts with 750 students or less. ESC's, their share is yet to be determined. In our case, with our
It's right here.
current ADM off, this is off the most, a January funding payment, 1955, 1,955 students times 30 cents per student would be 586.50. So they're asking for the adoption of the resolution, which was included in the packets, and then the payment and the commitment to pay each year to see this thing through and to make it permanent. Any
Thank you.
questions?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Senators Patterson and Cupp were here, presented on it not that long ago.
Oh, Patterson and actually the executive director, Jim Betts, was here.
Oh.
Bob Cupp did not make
I apologize.
the trip.
I said the wrong name. All right. Any other questions or comments about it? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
And Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Thank you.
The treasurer recommends the establishment of the is it Abent?
Abent?
Abent
I don't really know.
Memorial Scholarship Fund in the amount of $1,000 donated by Noel Armstrong. This was in the informational items earlier. The scholarship will be awarded to one graduating student each year who is planning to go into the field of nursing, preferred, or the medical field, according to criteria developed by Ms. Armstrong, who will select the recipient. Interest will not be credited to this scholarship. Can I get a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Discussion? Questions?
So again, the information was provided. This is a scholarship that she awarded last year, and then it pays upon the presentation of their grades after their first semester. But in the information, Rita, and I don't know the pronunciation, I'm just going to assume it's Abent, was one of her first patients that she truly connected with. So she named the scholarship in honor of her. It's just an in and out. She's taken care of, choosing, working with Mrs. DeBacher to get the applications, reviewing them, choosing them, giving the $1,000 to the school district to then cut the check to the student upon her selection after they attend the first semester of school. And that's why no interest. It's not, it's not going to accumulate money in it. It's going to be in there, and then it's going to be
So
out.
give it to us, we give it
zero.
out, that's it.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
And Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes. The superintendent recommends the following personnel actions for the 23-24 school year.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I want to congratulate Cheryl Berhaney for finally throwing in the towel.
Yeah, she will be greatly missed. She has been working, obviously, since before I started.
Yeah.
Doing accounts payable and then more, for a longer period of time, payroll, so.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
No.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
and Mrs. Ortiz.
Yes.
Just a matter of procedure real quick. Mr. Wilt, do you know that you could pull out a single issue to vote no on?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just
Thank you.
making sure. I didn't know that till 5 minutes ago. All right, where are we? Apologize. I recommend the following, the superintendent recommends the following volunteer coaches for the 23-24 school year.
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
And Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
The board acts to approve appointment of an appellate decision maker and authorizes and directs the superintendent and the treasurer to take all other such actions as are necessary or appropriate to accomplish the objectives of this board action, including but not limited to approval of necessary contract language related to such appointment.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
And Mr. Wilt?
No.
Okay, it's time for public comments. We'll do a total of 30 minutes. Each speaker will get 3 minutes, and speakers will be allowed to comment again on the same topic once everyone else has commented on that topic and others.
That is weird.
Will somebody be timekeeper for me?
Yes.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yep.
Any public speakers? Thank you. And state your name and address for the record, please.
I've done this before, I'm here.
I'm sorry, one more time.
I've done it, so
I know.
Katie Sunderland, 6416 North Ridge Road Avenue. No, I'm sorry, I don't know my own address. North Ridge Road, West Geneva. Sorry, brain is not braining today. First of all, I wanted to thank you for approving the Disney trip for the band. I did it with my high school, not Geneva, back when I was in high school, and it was a very memorable experience. I still have memories from it today. But the real reason I'm up here is about everyone's favorite topic, busing. Recently, I was pretty sick. I am my kid's main driver to and from school. As I said, I felt pretty sick. I was not in a position to drive. My understanding is for bus 16, the driver recently resigned, which out of our control, but the problem is when my husband tried to go to work Friday, and he could not get an answer as to what bus my kids were to ride instead of 16. Obviously, the middle school secretary didn't know. He called the bus garage, never heard anything back from anybody. He was able to make it to where he took the rest of the day off so that he could pick our kids up, because otherwise they had no way home. The other thing is, speaking as a teacher, I'm not going to speak on a specific student's thing with busing, but can we please assign bus routes that are not related to the bus numbers? When I was in high school, and it was a pretty big size high school, all of our buses were assigned a letter. On the side of the bus, there was a big white sign in black lettering. I graduated 24 years ago going on. I still remember that I am bus O. I did not need to look for my bus driver. I did not even have to look for my specific bus. When I got outside, all I had to look was for that big O. At the elementary level, it is easy to, because we're there making sure they're getting where they're to be, it's easy to get them on the right route. But middle school and high school, they're on their own. And some kids, like my daughter, she has pretty severe anxiety, and the mere thought of not knowing what bus she was riding that afternoon brought her to tears, which is why my husband ended up just making arrangements so he can pick her up. because he could not give her the information she needed to feel comfortable to ride the bus. And I can't, if he was not able to do that, we would have had to keep the kids home from school. And that should not be an option simply because I was sick. And I can't be the only parent that has come across that issue throughout all of this. So that's something, I don't know if after the driver resigned, we had already made a list that, I don't know, I know that at the middle school, each class has a Google Classroom. They could have easily gone on a list, found their name, and be like, oh, okay, I'm riding bus, whatever. So it's something that we're expecting our middle school and high school students to act older and take charge of themselves, but we are not giving them the tools to do so. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Katie.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary Allison, 5076 Lake Road East, Geneva on the Lake. Want to shout out to Rachel's Corner. I know the kids at our high school really appreciate whatever they can get from there, and it really makes a difference in their life and builds up their confidence. So I'm very appreciative of that.
And thank you for your donation.
Oh, no problem. My concern, I guess, is I keep thinking, is anybody overseeing this new building going up? And my concern is like, okay, so when you're spending that much money, over $2 million for a building, I feel like it should be freestanding and not tying in to all of the high schools' utilities and things, and that's what I'm seeing all the time. And then when they covered the windows, okay, I know brick will be a good firewall, but then my questioning like, well, what did they put up over the windows? Was it just insulation and drywall? Is that going to be a good substitute for a firewall? Did they put something else in there? And then I'm seeing pulling trees out all over the place. I mean, when they first started, they pulled the one out of the front that probably could have been dug up and planted somewhere else, but I'm a tree lover, so. And now along the ditch line, we just saw them yank 2 more trees out and just haul them away. And I know when we take our kids out there, a lot of times for biology and stuff, we'll do things along that creek bed and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, they've got diesel going. Is there any EPA things that are being met? Like, usually they'll put all kinds of things out so the diesel doesn't leak into the water source that's there. I know it's a drainage ditch, but it's still a water source for the area. These are things I think people need to, think about. Like, is anybody overseeing any of this for safety? And I'm appreciative that Mr. King went ahead and took care of, when they were first doing all this, the kids were coming out of school and the big machines were going all over. Kids were darting between them. And luckily he took care of that, because that was another thing that should have come across somebody's mind, like, hey, this is when school lets out, the kids cut through there to walk home. But I just feel like for the price that we're giving for this building, why are we taking space from the high school? You came into a storage area behind the main media center thing, and you took that storage area and you made it a mechanical room that ties into that new building. The new building should have been self-standing sufficient. If you're paying that much money, why are we leaning into the high school area? And why do we need a walkway? Because the walkway is now taking up some more storage area. So these are things that, I don't know if anybody really thought this through, but I'm concerned.
Thanks, Mary.
Christy Burns, 4262 North County Line Road. I just wanted to stand up and tell you guys thank you to the board for approving the MOU for the nursing. For those who don't know, that means that Quark and GPS will be able to have a full-time, or will be able to have a nurse hired between them that is not just a substitute. Our children do need someone that's consistent, that knows their medical needs, so I thank you for that. And I also just wanted to say that we do have a nurse that has been substituting for over a year. She's very, very familiar with the system. She's very familiar with all the children, and I just wanted to put that out there for when we're doing interviews and stuff. We have someone available that is very well trained. And then secondly, the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I know there's a lot of talk about the eclipse coming up, and I'm just putting my plug out here. You know, vision and hearing are huge things for learning. The library and Spire are both doing events or giving out glasses. Austinburg had their parent group donate glasses for them. I know the Geneva Middle School right now is working on glasses, but I just kind of wanted to plug for the other schools right now since they don't necessarily have a full-time nurse in that position that can speak to that. I think it's important. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime educational experience for these children. And we do a lot of things in the community and talking about parents, how we can get parents involved. There's a lot of students in our district who won't have access to those. And so I'm just putting a plug in there that I think it would be a very good use of our resources to maybe have some amount of those available for the schools that aren't already covered.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Frazier, 1648 Elmwood Drive. This is my first board meeting, so I don't even know what the protocol is, but is that all you need from me that way? Okay. So my goal is not to address any investigations that are going on or anything that's currently happening. My goal is to address how the situations are being handled with the students and in the school. To start off, I want to preface, I know all parents received a robocall. From my point of view, it incited some panic because there really wasn't any information given. It was a few sentences and then a click. Then we had to wait a half an hour before something was posted on the website. Having worked in mental health and social services, I'm a substance abuse counselor. Of course, after reading what was on the website, my brain automatically goes to a worst case scenario. I was wondering if my child was safe, if her friends were safe, if the individual that was under in the investigation was removed and was not having any further contact with children at this point. I didn't receive any of that information in what was given. As a parent, I didn't need the specifics at that moment about what was going on. I needed to know that my child was safe and that there were capable individuals handling the incident appropriately. In the recent days, my child has come home with rumor after rumor of things that she has heard about what is happening. These rumors are disturbing to her and also make her sad, as some of them have been about her own coaches. As far as what she's told me, school administrators have not addressed any of this with the students. At the very least, I feel they should have met with the student body as a whole and let them know that an incident occurred and it was being investigated. They didn't need the specifics, but I think they're old enough to be let in on a little bit of what's going on. So now they're left to their own devices. They don't know what's going on. Rumors are going around, and I'm sure everybody knows that rumors can hurt reputations. They can hurt somebody's employment. They can hurt somebody's family, whether they're innocent or they're guilty. So what I'm saying is these kids should have been informed, educated on how rumors are spread and how they can hurt, as well as how school staff can keep the students safe. You guys are educators. Please educate. Instead, they have been left to their own devices to wonder what's going on. The rumor mill seems to be running rampant. Rumors, of course, like I said, can destroy. Allowing this to go on in the school is irresponsible to our kids, to our teachers, to parents, and our coaches. The example also being set for our children is lacking. These children are at the age where they look to adults in their lives as role models. They are at the age of being shaped to be our future leaders, teachers, coaches, social workers. Give them a respect of seeing positive leadership and teach them how to handle hard situations appropriately. I truly believe they should have been given the respect of being told that an incident occurred and it was being investigated, instead of hearing from their peers or their parents
30
coming home
seconds.
and asking them what is going on. These kids trust you guys. Your job is to teach them, shape them, and keep them safe. With the trust and feelings of respect, these kids will have the comfort level to come to you when things may be off and have the ability to express their observations, their feelings, and needs. I came here tonight to ask and implore the superintendent, the school board, and the administrators to do better. Thank you.
Marty, this will be the
First
last
name's Sean Shannon, class of 1982, Geneva High School, address 3189, Route 307, Austinburg, Ohio. And kind of fitting today, I'm going to move this up a little bit. It's kind of fitting that our taxes were due yesterday for land tax for both commercial and residential. And as we know, the taxes went up for some people, nearly 30 to 40%. And I wanted to bring to the board's attention and see where they stand on this, but having attended recently in the fall season for the playoff games for the football, upwards to $12 to $15 per ticket for the people who attended the games. And with the people, the senior citizens of 60 years or older, now, they're grandparents, and if they just want to go down and see the local kids that are doing well, that's $30 or $40 a night just to go watch a game. So I would ask maybe the board to draft a letter, if possible, to the OHSAA that over 60 years old or the people who are veterans of the United States military to be able to go to any
Excuse me, sir.
any activity.
They are free.
regular games.
No, they're not at the high school tournament games.
No,
they are not at the tournament games.
Tournaments are not.
They are.
Oh,
We
not
offer
a
that here.
tournament.
We offer that here, and I know that it's a blessing from the school district. But I would ask the school district to maybe do a letter to the OHSAA, because again, as it is fitting that happens like today, with the taxes going up, you have a lot of people on fixed incomes, and if you want them to come out and support your kids, may not even have a child there, a grandparent or something, that's a $30, $40 night. If they go 3-4 days in, that's a couple $100 it costs them to go watch the ball games. So I bring that plight, and maybe that the school district or somebody could come up with an idea with the OHSAA to bring that up for the people of the 60 or older, or maybe the veterans of the United States. So
Thank
I
you,
want to
sir.
share that. And an additional comment, for those that are from Austinburg know, each year we do a nickel day for the kids. This year we're going to do it on June the 6th. It is the first day of summer vacation. And we're looking it'll be our 11th year, and we will send things out. I know I've worked with a lot of the principals over the years. I appreciate that. And I just want people to know that you guys are doing a good job. We're going to try to do the best we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon.
Is that it? Is that time? Thank you, everyone. Board member reports. Anyone have anything they would like to share?
Do we still have time? We've got someone coming to the mic.
We have one.
Oh, excuse me.
That was 5, so we have one more for 30
One more.
minutes.
Okay.
Yep.
Richard Arndt, 6370 Northridge Road West, Geneva, Ohio. Good evening, Mr. Wilt, Mrs. Ortiz, Mr. Lillie, Dr. Treharn. I'm here tonight on behalf of those who fear. Did anybody speak while anybody else was speaking up here? No. Once again, I'm here tonight on behalf of those who fear the hate and slanderous attacks demonstrated through social media sites by select members of the Board of Education. There are various community members and many parents who support the continued and tireless efforts demonstrated by Dr. Treharn in holding employees of the district accountable in their duties to educate all students. Many parents fear their children will be the target of certain administrators and educators in the classroom. If they, as parents, come forth to commend the efforts of our superintendent in writing the course of Geneva School District. Even though the list of improvements that Dr. Treharn has brought to our school district is extensive, I have been asked to publicly thank her for 3 things tonight. The first being the book machines. The parents and the children love the opportunity and options available while accessing the book machines. It promotes reading and a sense of choice to the individual student. And everybody here tonight knows the importance of reading. Secondly, they would like to thank Dr. Treharn for her Soaring Eagles initiative. Many children get lost in a shuffle, so establishing a program where an individual student gets recognized is special to the student and the student's parents. This has proven to be a wonderful program for our schools and families of our students. Thirdly, they ask that I pass on a job well done to Dr. Treharn for her daily and continuous oversight towards the bus garage and drivers. According to parents, oftentimes the easiest part of their day is getting their child off to school. The reason for this is the relationship between the individual bus driver and the student. As you know, many of our students spend quite a bit of time on the bus. When there is a bond between the bus driver and the student, this can make for a wonderful start of the day for many children. So it appears that many of our bus drivers, contrary to what some of our frequent flyers to the microphone are saying, are in fact doing a tremendous and wonderful job for our students. They are transporting our students safely, and they are establishing a meaningful relationship with a student, which helps the student get through the day and grow socially. Lastly, just a point. For those of you who have cheered while certain individuals approach the microphone to yell and threaten others about numerous topics, including the bus garage, I would encourage you to do some homework prior to showing your support. If you're interested, I have a complete employee package of a past Ashtabula Area City Schools employee who seems to show up here frequently, which gives detailed reasons why this individual's employment was terminated. What I found interesting was the name of the terminated individual's labor relations consultant and that relationship to Geneva Schools. In closing, please know that there are many in our community who support our current superintendent and all her efforts in making the Geneva School District a better place for our students and our community. Once again, because of their position in the community or having children still in school, the fear of the hateful rhetoric demonstrated thus far by a couple board members prevents them from coming forward. Thank you.
That's rich. Okay, any other public speakers? Is that our time?
That's time.
That's our time, thank you all. Board member reports. Anybody have anything to share?
So, I do.
Please, Mrs. Ortiz.
Okay, so we were all fortunate enough to attend the Ashtabula County Board Member Professional Development at ATEC, so I'd like to thank the ESC Board for welcoming us and having the OSBA up for that presentation on February 13th. And then also Mrs. Milliken, Dixon, and myself, we traversed the snow on Friday night. And we made it to Columbus. We made it. Luckily, safely. So we did the Board Member 201, a deeper dive, and I found it very informative, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Mr. Wilt?
I've got a couple of items. Somebody keeps stealing all my stuff. I'm going to ask to move in front of the principals and talk about the basketball, but we'll let that go. Also, somebody else steals my stuff. It's in blue. It's about the RAM clinic. I know that it does great things It does regular doctor visits, vision, dental. I know it does chiropractic. So please feel free to take advantage of that. If any of the principals want flyers to send home, again, it's 100% free. It is April 13th and 14th at Lakeside High School. There's literally hundreds of people that go and take advantage of that. It's been a wonderful thing that's come to the county. Since our last board meeting, I had a chance to see the pep band. It was at one of the basketball games. I miss seeing it at every basketball game. It was one of the highlights when I was in high school. Was listening to the band. It was loud. So again, I appreciate that. And next Monday is the OHSAA Spring Sports Meeting at 7 o'clock here. If anyone has any potential student athletes, they need to attend that meeting.
Thank you, Roger. Anybody else have anything?
Mr. Pierson and I attended the OSBA Board 101 training in Cleveland at the end of January, which was very, very informative. Lots of learning, lots of great conversations. We really enjoyed it, met some great people from Columbus. We also attended the event in Jefferson at ATAC, and it was a little bit of a repeat, but it was a much smaller group, so we were able to have a little bit, closer conversations. So I was very appreciative to be sent to that, and lots of best practices taught and expounded upon, so it was very beneficial. So thank you.
Anyone else? I have a little bit of a list. I will do my best to be brief, but I want to make sure I get thanks out when needed. The spelling bee for ABC, we are trying to get a board team together. We are working on that. Some of us have a couple conflicts, but we're going to try to get a board team. If you're interested in padding our team, any good spellers, just let me know. We are also doing our best. I want to speak a minute about the justification piece of our executive sessions. So there's legal language that we have to put on the agenda to tell you why we're going into executive session, because our public, our constituents, have every right to know what we are discussing without the specificity of what we're discussing. When we put personnel matters, that's what we mean. We're talking about like an investigation that's going on, or a leave that happened, or those things that are not for public fodder and shouldn't be, out of respect for the employee involved, but we try to be as specific as we can. So if anyone ever has any questions about what we discuss, you can ask them. If you have any concerns that we're discussing other than what we should be in executive session, then please raise those. We want to be transparent. This board's overwhelming attitude has been, since we all joined forces in January, has been transparency. So please ask questions. We are more than willing to help you. We are not going to say Mrs. Jones got suspended for chewing gum. We're not going to tell you those details, but whatever we can tell you, we do want to share. All right. I want to speak a couple minutes about some Geneva former employees who passed away this month. Don Pruden was a bus driver for us for 38 years for the same Geneva on the Lake route. Not my route, unfortunately. He drove through the Heights. But he was an amazing man. His chicken egg farm is right here on the corner of Myers and 84. And in the summer, you can sure smell it with your windows down. And he started at Spencer High School. When Spencer was the high school, that's when he started driving bus for us. He literally, his nephews told stories at his funeral about stopping the bus, whether there are children or not, if there's an animal in the road, helping the animal, on some occasions, giving the animal to a student to take home and adopt. And so a children lover and an animal lover, and just a wonderful man. The other, he was also a veteran of the Army. He was 95 years old when he passed, and he lived in that house all 95 of those years. Ralph Spalding also passed this month. Ralph was a longtime principal at the old Spencer Elementary School. He was my mom's, as a teacher's favorite boss, and he was known for getting on the PA system and saying, I'm on here to make sure everyone is behave. Behave. That was Ralph's catchphrase. You need to behave. And so everyone tried to behave for him, and we loved him. And I just wanted to say that. And while I'm giving eulogies a little bit, one more sentence. My dad, the anniversary of my dad's death is today. It's been 23 years since he passed, and I want him to know that I'm up here trying to do the right thing for everybody. So thank you. And that is all I have. Any other board reports? All right, what's next?
Actually, if I
go
could
ahead.
say something really quickly,
Rob.
just because that was actually extremely moving. About 2 days ago, we celebrated a birthday of someone who's no longer with us that many of you know is Annie Bryan.
Yeah.
And I heard today that there will be a 5K for GPS, and that made me a little teary. I grew up with Isaac and Alexis from the time I was very young. I used to call their dog Caesar Salad. Annie Bryan was my favorite. I've never been more afraid, and also love anyone as much as Dixie Hamilton. She is both terrifying and extremely awesome, and that is why we don't cross her. Her still being here in the lapse of losing Annie has been extremely hard, and it seems so strange, at least in my 30s now, that some of those people who we think are going to be with us forever are gone. And so for whoever was involved with that 5K, which I should know, and I apologize, I thank you guys a lot for that, because Annie's huge for this community. Dixie is amazing, and that whole family, at least just personally, has been awesome, and I know they've done something for everyone in this room. So thank you.
Dixie taught at Spencer for 50 years. Not exaggerating.
She's amazing.
She taught there for 50 years.
Free certificate.
My mom came and went in her 34, and Dixie was still there. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you all. Athletic facility discussion. So, we want to have a real brief discussion, and it's like a future board consideration. It's not currently in our strategic plan, but another thing that this board has on its agenda is building our own athletic facility and being able to separate from Spire. So to that end, Mr. Wilt and Mrs. Krieg both want to be on that committee. We want to reestablish the one that sort of hit a brick wall and couldn't get past it in order to get us where we need to get. And so we've got 2 new board members with 2 new ideas and 2 new sets of connections in the community and that sort of thing. So we're going to reestablish that committee. So let one of us know if you're interested in joining that, so that we can really dig our heels in and get that done. So any other board members want to comment or say anything? Comment or say anything?
I've had a few conversations with Mr. Rosales about some opportunities that were, glanced at and considered a few years ago. Pricing, obviously has gone up. But I think that we have some really good ideas about what our district needs. And, reading over the plan that, again, this would have been from 2022, that he sought this information. I think it's something that we need to look at. Obviously, we need our own facility. We need to break from Spire. To be honest, they don't want us there and we don't want to be there. So we have to come up with a plan so that our students have a place to call home. And I think we would all agree, I know my kids have been athletes, Spire is not home. So our hope is to do something in phases, get us what we need as a district, consider all entities. And when I say all entities, I'm not just talking about football, and I'm sure Mr. Wood will jump in on this too. I'm talking about, baseball and softball fields. I'm talking about soccer fields. I'm talking about practice fields. I'm talking about our band. Everybody needs a space. And I think that our community is at the point right now, we're at the precipice of change, and we have a lot of fresh ideas up here. We have a lot of people that are willing to work hard, and we can, as I say to my kindergartners every day, we can do hard things. So I think if we all come together and, put our ideas out there, we could get moving and, hopefully execute this so that our athletes have a place to call home. We have a facility that we're proud of, and all of our community can have a hand in it. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I have spoken a little bit with Ms. Crossley, so we've kind of got an idea, but I truly want all entities involved. This is not just a football stadium. I know we all love football, I get it. But we have to incorporate every student, every activity, every piece of our student body should be reflected in that facility. And I don't know if Mr. Wilt has anything.
No, you said it, that we need to break free from the Spire. Unfortunately, a few years ago, we didn't have a choice.
Right.
It was either that or don't play. And, we kind of got handcuffed to them, and now it's time that we get our identity back.
Absolutely. And I think we need to have some hard conversations with them. I think we need to say things like what I said earlier. You don't want us here, and we don't want to be here, so put a dollar figure on that. I know that that's probably a pie in the sky outlook, but as I've said before, they are a business and they want to make money, and they are not making money off of us. We are an inconvenience for them. I cite graduation on a Wednesday night.
I know.
I could run through an entire list of things that have been dumped on our athletic director and our admins and our coaches trying to figure out a place for our kids to play. And again, all decisions should be student-centered. So if we can't show the decisions that we're making are serving students, then we're not doing it correctly. So those are kind of my thoughts on it. And again, the more heads that are around this, the better. We all have, connections in the community, people that we know that we can reach out to that could perhaps connect us to other businesses. But we need to get together and start having conversations, because 2027 will be here very quickly. And I personally would like to be out of there long before then. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Anything else for the good of the order?
I just want to say we had started this conversation before we even came into the seat. And I want to thank Mr. Rosales, who not only had numbers in hand, but itemized pieces of what people had looked like in 2022, which were at that point barely even a year old yet, and that people in the community had already taken a look at this and what it looked like, right? So it's being represented in the community. Obviously, students are asking for it. There are most likely coaches asking for it. It's on the boosters' radar. We didn't hear anything about it from the powers that be. I think that context about how fast we can just go to people and ask, what's at the forefront of your concern? These kids don't have Memorial Field. I never really thought about that, right? Because I graduated. I was the last class to graduate from it. But they go to Spire and they graduate on a Wednesday night, and then they leave, and then there's like JO volleyball as they walk through the hall in their gowns. It's a very prolific moment. So I know that the beast of taking this on by these people, which they're qualified to do, seems very arduous, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and you're not just going to see rubber stamps go through. I want to thank the community most of all for being the people who spearheaded this and then allowing us to join the conversation quite amicably. Everyone has been very polite, and I appreciate that from you guys.
And it's definitely going to be something that can't, I'm not comfortable just saying, make it a levy. We have bigger problems at hand, and we need to think outside the box and come up with some plans and some tiers of how this is going to go, some stages to meet the immediate needs, and then a vision of what it's going to look like as we go further into the process. So if you're someone that has that vision and likes to have hard conversations, then look me up. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Michelle.
Next on the agenda, we want to talk about live feeding our meetings. So we've had some requests that in addition to recording them and putting them on the website the next day, that we have a live feed of the meeting. So if you're unable to come in person, you can watch in real time. So I want to start that conversation with us because there are certainly pros and cons for that. And so I just wanted to lay the foundation that we're thinking about that and discussing that and what to do about that. So anyone have anything they want to contribute to that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to live stream it. I think that part of the thing that makes this good is being able to have the public participate. I would ask for comments off, and I want to say this while I can speak in my own opinion. It's really easy to make like, I hate school 111-222-333 when I'm from Madison and go ruin, Geneva school board meeting or in some fictitious environment. So I think one of the most important things is commentary probably should be put off. So we might want to think of alternate ways for if there are stakeholders that cannot for some reason, be it just being able to come, are able to make a commentary through a side channel. I think that live commentary probably shouldn't be there. But if we can have some way to verify a stakeholder, a problem I have not solved yet, I think that would be awesome. And I don't think many people would be resistant to a live stream in the public. It makes this far easier to see.
Yeah, and of course that you brought up, that's the biggest concern was then it'd be live and not live in person, just live in person, but live to the world essentially, right? And if someone says something inappropriate, one of us, one of you, one of them, whoever, right? Then it's said. Then it's out there for global consumption, literally. And so that's of course a concern. So we'd have to figure that out. One of the ideas was maybe a delay on it or something, and I don't know anything about the tech about it. So I can't speak at all to how this would work, but maybe a delay, I don't know. Like they have on TV, you can push the delay button if somebody swears or
There's
whatever.
some pretty good best practices
All
there.
right.
There are some pretty good best practices there too, where people, and I'm sure that we could look at some of our AV people here, where if a parent comes up and starts launching a bunch of FERPA information, there is the ability to cut that as well as scrub a certain amount of it so it doesn't broadcast first. And what that basically looks like is a small stream box. It's a little hard drive, kind of like RAM, so it only temporarily stores things. And you put your feed in there and you hold it, and then you purposely create a delay. So the first 5 seconds of someone saying, something inappropriate occur, then you have the ability to pull 10 of that back. And then once decorum is reached, you can re-roll it. And from my understanding, those are as easy as throwing some flash drives in it in what's called a RAID array, which is a fancy term for a very old hard drive that's very slow. And in this case, that very slow hard drive benefits us because we can basically just turn it off, plug it back in.
And I think we need to consider too that there's, we have many stakeholders that, are elderly, if we have, people that are retired that can't get to the meetings, they still have a right to know what's going on.
Correct.
And I think, to speak to about the delay, OSBA was very knowledgeable about that. I think they would be a great group to go to that could give us some guidance on best practices to how to handle that so that we are putting the information out there, but we're also protecting ourselves in the long run.
Mm-hmm. I believe Cheryl talked about that.
Yes,
Am I correct?
Cheryl
Yeah.
Ryan at
And
OSBA talked about
I think
that.
all of us
Yeah.
here have spoken with Cheryl. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else anybody wants to add at this juncture? Before I move to number 16, I want to say really quickly that this executive session is going to be as brief as possible because we are going to return and do some business following the session. So the superintendent recommends that the board hold an executive session for the purpose of considering the employment, why am I reading this without my glasses? Discipline or compensation of a public employee or official. So we will be back as soon as humanly possible. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Ortiz?
No.
Mr. Pierson? Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
No.
And Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Motion passes. We're heading into an executive session. From executive session.
We're not all here.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. upon our return from executive session, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt tonight's, modify tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Discussion? Second?
No discussion?
We need a second.
Second.
Discussion? I apologize for wasting everyone's time this evening, waiting for us. I thought that we had business to do, but we have been prohibited from doing so. Anyone else have anything to say?
Rock.
Because we voted to accept the agenda as is, modifications you will see will require a majority. That is 4 of 5 votes in most situations.
You haven't even taken a vote.
He's explaining the process.
So the movement to modify the agenda here will not need what you typically would need, which would be your 3/5.
3 of 5.
It would need a majority.
Now we need 4 of 5. So everyone's clear on the procedure.
And that's for any of the modifications where the board has elected to accept at the beginning of the meeting the agenda, because we have accepted it at this point.
Anything else anybody wants to say? Of course not.
I have lots to say, but
Yeah, of course not. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ortiz?
No.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
No.
Mrs. Krieg?
yep.
And Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes. Motion does not carry, so there'll be no further business. I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Moved.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Pierson?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieg?
Yes.
Mrs. Milliken Dixon?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ortiz?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.